We are live. Man, great evening. How y'all brothers doing today?
What's up, brother?
Good, bro. Doing good, bro. How about yourself?
I'm doing amazing. I gotta just say, once again, we have the opportunity to be on Life with Shenita. You know, she has definitely been gracious to be able to allow us to have this opportunity to be on her talk show. And I just want to, let people know about her talk show, right? Life with Shenita, it started with the ultimate goal to help people overcome life challenges and to encourage them to live a vibrant life. And so, today's conversation is it's going to be a little different, right? It's going to be a little different, but I just want to let you guys know it's a Gen Z edition, right? So we got some, we some great brothers that are gonna talk about how we're gonna, inspire the next generation, also do some things for ourselves. So I want you guys, like, how you feeling? Like, what's the temperature check for y'all right now?
Man, Quez, Brandon, great to be here. It's always a pleasure to share the stage with my brothers. As we talk about, like you said, a deep topic today. It's gonna get real deep, but it's most importantly gonna be trying to inspire, elevate, and educate the young generation, or even the older generation as well. So I'm feeling good. I'm ready for it.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Like it. I mean, I'm the same way. I'm glad to be here, be able to share the stage with my brothers as well. We've been doing this all our life since we was like in second grade, kindergarten, and now we just taking it to another level. So I'm just glad to be here and glad for Dr. C to be able to like be into our lives and speak to us and just, you know, encourage us to keep, changing other people's lives and being a blessing to other people. So I'm glad to be here and be able to talk today.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Dr. C.
Right. Thank you, Dr. C. I know you mentioned, we've been knowing each other for a minute, and I just want to let people know, for those people that do not know who we are, my name is Jarquez Baldwin, and I met these brothers a long time ago when I was probably in elementary, middle school, and we've been rocking ever since. But now, for instance, for me, I've been able to, graduate college with a bachelor's degree in business administration, and I've also started a firm when it comes to financial literacy and been able to empower individuals and communities through financial education and implementation. So I'm excited to share some things that I experienced, some things that you guys experienced as far as having a collective conversation. So just wanted to let people know who I am. I don't know if you guys want to kind of let them know as well.
Yeah. So for me, I'm a security professional, mainly in the risk and identity access management side. So it's dealing with, as you said, anything with risk, identity, anything dealing with identity access as well, and it's basically cybersecurity. So I'm your security professional, and I'm just here to share the stage with my brothers.
Yes, sir.
All right. As for me, I'm Brandon Mercer. I already graduated from Edward Waters University this past last summer actually, 2022. Got a mathematics degree, and I'm continuing my education to get my civil engineering degree. So that's basically where I'm at now. I'm starting to like entrepreneur things. I want to be a serial entrepreneur. So I got me a couple businesses that I've jump started this year, and a couple other things in the mix. So yeah, that's where I'm at. Just working hard, trying to get school done and stay on top of things, pretty much.
Yeah. And I want to set the tone, right? I want to put all the cards on the table so we know, so everyone that's here today, everyone that's listening, know what we're working with, right? And I just want to say what this is not about, right? This is not about us saying, oh, we want to down the previous generations, or we, of course, we're talking about generational trauma, but it's not about us thinking that, look, we're still young in our own right, and we still have a lot more life experiences to go, but this is not saying we got all the solutions, but we just want to bring the conversation up, right? And because we feel like the conversation is needed, and it's not about us, right? It's about our community and our culture and the overall elevation of the next generation, right? And we want to make sure that we know that we can't elevate tomorrow if we're not doing something about it today, right? So this is what this conversation about, and I want to kind of hear from you guys, like, generational trauma. I'm gonna be honest. When I first heard generational trauma, like, oh, it sounds so like negative, like so much of a negative connotation to it. But I want to hear you guys' thoughts. Like, when you hear that phrase, what is it that you think about?
So whenever I hear a phrase like that, I just try to break it down. So when you hear generational, what do you think about when you hear generational? You think about a series of families down the line from 50, 60, 70, so on and so on. When you think about trauma just automatically makes you think of something bad. Maybe the hospital, maybe a series of it, or it is a series of events or bad events, maybe injuries, maybe abuse, maybe whatever it is that brings trauma. Well, comes to your mind when you bring trauma. It can be a lot. So when we talk about generational trauma today, it's just we're going to talk about like a series of events or a series of events that's actually happened that may have affected your life in a negative or even a positive way. And it's gonna be a good conversation. And I'm here to be here for anyone who needs the support or just have everyone listen in.
Absolutely.
All
Yeah.
right. I like that, Lynn. I like how you put that, broke it down. So for me, like when I hear generational trauma, uh, I think we all got like an idea of what like it is. So that's why I know this conversation is going to like be able to really touch someone, wherever people are at in their life, because it's essentially just the passing down of like traumatic experiences that your parents had experienced that's still affecting you today. So it's like, we are so far apart from our great grandparents and the way they live, but the stuff that they experience still affect us in this day. So that's like why it's just so deep to us. And I think we need to like recognize that and be able to like come up with ways to assess it and fight back against it. So they don't tear us down, because that's essentially what trauma do. It tears you down and breaks you down for just not a good feeling. So we need to be able to recognize that and assess it in a way that's positive.
And that's what we're about to do. But I don't want to go any further because we have somebody special that that is joining us today. And you guys probably like, okay, 7 minutes in, it's probably just you guys. But now we have another brother. And I went to college with this guy. And when I tell you, we called it a family dinner on Wednesday nights. And when I tell you he had sat next to me, he just wouldn't, he would just had so much energy. Like he would just had so much energy and just kept asking me questions. And I'm like, bro, who is this guy? And then next thing you know, man, like every time we talk, it's always fun, always joyous, always laughter. But this brother has surpassed a lot of goals already. And he's only 20 years old. And he actually just dropped his first book, 20 Lessons in 20 Years. A young person's guide to building positive momentum in life. Like, come on now, just that title alone can tell you a lot about who he is. But I don't want to say no more. I want to be able to introduce my brother, Cameron Williams.
Hey, well, first thing is first. When you have a person like Jaquez Balwin to give you an introduction like that, you got to make sure you come with the A game, man. So, man, it's just a on. I want to thank you guys for inviting me to the Life with Shenita show, and man, I look forward to be able to not only connect with you guys, but be able to give the audience some very valuable information, man. So, thank you guys so much for having me.
Absolutely, man.
You're welcome, bro.
Welcome, brother.
Cam, now this is a tough topic. It's a tough topic now. Like, but I feel like you have some insights. So maybe some things that you experienced, or I just want to know, like, what's your feeling on, when you say generational trauma? What you think about that?
Yeah, well, Jaquez, that's a good question. For myself, I'll give you guys a personal account. I'll be completely honest when it comes to the topic of trauma. This isn't something I've always been comfortable talking about, but for the sake of us and the audience, it has to be talked about, right? This is a conversation that it needs to be had. For myself, to give you context, I was born in 2003. Both of my parents, my mother was 21 when she gave birth to me, and to be frank, honest, my father wasn't present when I was born. And for the most part of my life, pretty much until I grew up and turned 18, me and my father never really had any type of relationship, much less a close relationship, right? So growing up in that experience, I realized that, okay, my experience is unique in terms of what I'm going through, that doesn't define who I am as a person, right? You know, this is a situation that a lot of people, when it comes to fatherhood, and especially in the Black community, it's a sensitive subject. You know, for myself, like I said, I grew up without my father. So, you know, I have to take this opportunity now to talk about not only my experience, but some things I learned along the way. And yes, I definitely look forward to just give you guys more insights. So, yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Brandon, you mentioned some great things. I think Cam, went out for a second, but Brandon, you mentioned something key, right? You said recognize it, right? And I think that's key. Like, when y'all think about that, how do we recognize generational trauma? Like, what do you like? How do you, when you say recognize, what do you mean by that?
Well, essentially, just being able to point it out and know when something is affecting you. So like that's pretty much with anything in life. You want to be observant of, just your situational awareness and stuff like that. So recognizing that like this conversation needed to be talked about beginning of 2024, just to keep everyone on I don't want to say like a level head, it's like, how can you get to where you need to go if you don't know where you came from?
Okay.
So that's why I'm trying to get at pretty much with this generational trauma.
Right. And I can piggyback off that. I was just thinking earlier, a lot of times we go through trauma, and this is what I found out. Like, sometimes you can try to forget about trauma, like forget about what actually happened because it was so traumatic, and you'll push it off to the side. But sometimes I feel like you can use what happened to propel you or to push you forward to get to where you're trying to go. If y'all feel what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, you can actually use it as fuel, you know what I'm saying? Although trauma is bad, but use it as fuel to actually get to where you're going. Like you said, Brandon, assess it, recognize it, and use it in a positive way.
Yeah.
Like I like to say adversity on purpose. You know what I mean? And what I mean by that is being able to literally, at the end of the day, there's always, I feel like it's two sides to a coin, right? It's two sides to everything, right? If we're gonna have the good, we're gonna have the evil. You know what I mean? If you're gonna have the positive, you're gonna have the negative. Like, everything is, we got to understand that. But the thing is, if we know that's inevitable, that means we have to embrace it. You know what I mean? So when we say, how do we recognize it? Well, we recognize that at the end of the day, it's going to be there. And we're not saying, okay, today is not saying, okay, we just putting down our families or our community or our culture or our generation as a whole. We're just saying that it's there. So let's talk about it. Most people might say, man, this is something I'm going to just shy away from and say, no, let's forget about it. Because I think a lot of times, I don't know about y'all, but a lot of times that was my experience. There are certain things, I don't know y'all ever, like, you came home one day, or your family, somebody came home and they probably had a horrible day at work. And it's like everything that happened at work, all those emotions that they couldn't really give out at work, back out, whoever, caused those emotions, they bring it home to you.
Right.
Anybody had that experience before?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. But I think that's just a part of being human, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes I would say it's kind of hard to deal with emotions depending on who you are. Well, that's what you learn as well. Emotional intelligence, learning learning how to deal with certain situations, learning how to just maneuver and not put it on other people. But it's definitely happened. I'm pretty sure everybody experienced that. I'm pretty sure, right?
Yeah. I don't know if y'all ever heard of this saying. They say hurt people hurt people.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? And when you think about that, I'm curious, if you guys have any experiences, or think about it like this, right? I feel like something that most people in our community can relate to is that older guy in their family that literally, maybe they went through like the military or something. Even if they didn't go to the military, they got some type of strict regimen that's been passed down, that they have that, we call it that old school discipline, right? And it's like a lot of times, of course, you can get good from it, but a lot of times, sometimes that's where it can be traumatic. I don't know if you guys have any experiences, or when you just think about, staying on the topic of recognizing what that looks like. I don't know if you guys want to share something, from you guys' standpoint when you think about recognizing that type of thing.
Yeah, so I would say, like, from my experience, like how you said with your parent coming home. My mom, she never really like tried to come home, bring like work issues home. So I give her kudos to that. But like, as for like my father, it was always like a almost a battle with us, because he wasn't in the house, but we still kind of talked. So it was like he felt some type of way from my mom, like kind of not really keeping me away from him, but we just couldn't really be together like that. So he kind of took that out on me. And it took like me to get older to be able to recognize that, and forgive him for it. Like, I'm sure we all had a experience, especially as young Black men, with your father or whatever. I just sat down and cried thinking, why is it me, or is it him? Is my mom? You really don't know until you try to recognize it and just face it, like embrace it, like you said. So I would say like that's my experience pretty much, on top of other things as well. What about you, Cam?
Yeah, so first and foremost, I'm having some connectivity issues on my end. But like I said, man, this is a conversation that has to be had. So I'm getting back on those calls, and we're gonna spit this game, man. But definitely, Brandon, I can definitely attest to that point, right? Because like I said, growing up in a fractured home, I always ask myself all the time, I'm like, man, like, what did I do wrong, right? Is it something that I did? Is it something that broke my family up because I did something? Was my parents not ready for the responsibility of raising me together that I caused them to separate? Those are all questions I always ask myself, just wondering, am I even enough to have a household to both parents? For a big portion of my life, and even to this day, sometimes I still have those feelings of like, man, what if it was a different story for me? What if it was an opportunity that I would have both of my parents to be married in the same household, right? But like you said, to your point, Brandon and Jaquez, like, you have to understand that no matter the situation you're in, how you respond is the most important thing. Yeah. And I believe that definitely growing up as a kid, I didn't understand that. But once I got to a teenager's age, it was around 14 to 15, I said, hey, well, it doesn't look like my father is looking forward to being very active in my life. So, hey, why not respond the most positive way I can, right? Why don't I just be grateful I have my mother in my life who's loving? Why don't I be grateful for my mother's side of the family that's loving and caring in my life? So like I said, no matter the situation, no matter the trauma you're in, understand that how you respond and how you view it is really important. So great points.
Yeah, and I want to follow up on that, Cam, because you mentioned some great things as far as what you experienced, but you mentioned somewhat of how you was able to cope with it, or how you was able to go a little bit deeper in it. So if you could give, someone listening some words of wisdom, some words of advice on how you was able to say, hey, all right, I realized this is here. I was able to recognize it, but then I was able to actually maneuver a certain way to, I don't know, in a way that was pleasing to you, also to your parents. Like, do you mind sharing a little bit more of some tactical things that you've been able to do to cope with that?
Yes. So the biggest point I want to hit for not only anybody that's listening, going through a similar situation I did growing up, but for everybody on the call as well, man, I want to hit on the word called gratefulness, right? But when I touched on my family history and my upbringing, I always looked at a mind space of, hey, my father's not around. I'm not enough. I'm not good enough. Now I did something wrong. I always looked at myself in a negative light. But like I said, switching that mindset to a gratefulness mindset is saying, hey, well, that situation, it could be seen as a negative, but flipping it to a positive. Instead of saying, hey, well, I don't have my father in my life, say, hey, I have my mother in my life. I have an opportunity to have my mother in my life, the other people who are related on my mother's side of my life, and they're loving and they're caring and they're supportive. So, of course, like I said, the negative side, if you were to just look at it from one perspective, is, hey, I don't have a father. My father's not in my life. I'm fatherless, right? Yeah. It's easy to look at it from a negative perspective, but switching that and looking at it from, like I said, gratefulness and a positive perspective, I challenge you guys to say, hey, well, I have my mother in my life. I have the other side of my family in my life that love me and care about me as a person. So do your best to flip that positive into a negative.
That's
I
major.
like that.
That's major. Definitely is, man. And you know, so when I think about this, right? You ever hear these sayings, right? Money can't buy happiness, or time is money, or more money, more problems, right? Or the love of money is the root of all evil. Like you guys ever heard of those phrases?
Mhm.
And one of the things that what I think about when I hear these phrases, and especially me being able to be able to impact individual lives in this space. When you think about the financial space, money has always been a sensitive topic, right? And one thing that Cam just mentioned, as far as how do we perceive things and perceiving it of a good light or a bad light, right? But when you think about money from a generational standpoint on how the perception of it gets passed down, and let's just take for instance, now you bear with me on this one, right? When we think about, say, let's say for instance, more money, more problems, right? Most times you say gratefulness, right? Like Dr. Shenita just put in the chat, a mindset of gratefulness. Well, have y'all ever had where your family or those around you, when they think about money, they might say, okay, man, like it's not all that, right? I don't really like, money, it kind of put it down, so to speak. Like, and when I think about that, I think is that, okay, how can I move from a scarcity mindset? Because I think a lot of times we think it from a point of it's not going to be there, right? Or I just need to turn my head away because I don't find it that important, and let me just go into a way that I say, all right, let me. I don't know, like, do y'all understand from a standpoint of like when you think about more money, more problems? Have y'all ever had an experience with your family or anybody that considering that misconception of that?
Yeah, Quiz, I definitely want to touch on that because I can definitely relate to that. Growing up, in a single parent household, money was always it was always a sensitive subject in terms of what we could afford at the time, what we could afford to buy, our lifestyle, how we live life. Talking about money was actually a sensitive topic, and then when you're growing up like that, your family discourages you about talking about money, right? When it comes to making money, when in terms of doing better for yourself, aspiring for more. It's you grow up in a household like that. A lot of the times your family will shun you for wanting more. They'll shun you for wanting greater. The reason for that is because they can't see it for themselves.
Yeah.
So I definitely grew up in a household like that, and over time things definitely improved and got better. But I did definitely relate to that. And in terms of money, it's important as African Americans, especially as we're me, all four of us, we're gonna transition into fatherhood in the future. When
Right.
you have to start building your families, it's important to not only understand money, but discuss money and learn how to discuss it properly within your family. Not only discuss money, but within the proper mindset and mindset of abundance.
Right. So I want to say something. So earlier today, I just started reading this book called Brainstorm, and it was talking about. I just read like the first introduction. It was talking about propaganda, and it relates to what we're talking about. So when we talk about generations passing down the thought of money, how money is, when you have more money, you have more problems. Money is the root of all evil. Money is the root of all evil, but it's really just what was instilled into the past generations, and they eventually passed it down, which is generational, and it just continue going on and on. And when you want more for yourself, like Cam was saying, like people see that as like why, like, but in reality, that's the right way to go. But it's put in the world to not, well, it's put in the world for us to not to think like that, and it's set up for us not to think like that. But it's just brainwashed. Literally, what the book is called brainwashed. We've been brainwashed for a lot of things that were just from what we could say many years ago, and it's just still going on today. But it's not going to change until you change your surroundings, till you change your people. Till you change the people, surroundings, the people that you're around, your environment, which is still included in that subject. But until you change that, then it's going to continue to go on. It's continue to go from generation to generation to generation.
I want to pose a question. Like, do you guys feel that trauma has ever like held you back from who you want to be?
I'll definitely.
Go ahead. No, Cam, you got it.
Okay, I appreciate you, bro. From my personal standpoint, to give you an honest answer, yes, I do believe at a time in my life, especially when I was younger, family and personal trauma did hold me back from who I not only wanted to become, but who I knew I could become. Right, I was at a point where it's like, man, you have a dark cloud over your head all of the time, and it's self-imposed at that point because you know you want better for yourself and you can do better, but for some reason you're not. So, and definitely, and to give you an example of that, definitely for myself in terms of my academic achievements growing up, I always had the academic ability, but I never believed it. You know, I always grew up with my family saying, "Man, you're smart, man. You're gonna be the one, you know, the first millionaire in the family. You're gonna be this, you're gonna be that." And the whole time I'm like, man, I don't believe that. I couldn't see it for myself because my self-belief in myself was so tarnished from not having a complete household. And for myself, that was definitely a moment in my life growing up where I'm like, man, you know, this definitely it hold me back in terms of my personal growth, my personal the way I looked at myself as a person. But yeah, like I said again, it's all about switching that from like that negative mindset into the positive mindset and saying, hey, well, I know this is going on, but how do I flip that into more for myself? And that's what I did.
Right. I think that last piece that you threw in there, the making sure you recognize and keep a positive mindset, change the negative mindset. Like, if you know me, I'm always like been into like sports and playing football and stuff. So I feel like from doing that so young, that kind of like molded me into like not really accepting any excuses. Like, and that's just for myself, you know, like I can't let something that like my mom had happened to her make me late for school that morning or something like that. Like I was all, you know, it's just stuff like that like how you say it holds you back. So I feel like, yeah, our parents had it hard, your parents had it hard, but how do you got it? You know, assess it from there. And like that's just keeping that positive mindset. Even if you at the bottom of the barrel, you know, it's you could be at the bottom, the only way you got is up, and that's positivity. So right there, you know what I'm saying? That's why I say that to say, like, don't let anything kind of hold you back in a sense of if you still got air in your lungs and you still got your right mind, you can still, you know, make something out of the day. So I want to put that out there for, you know, the viewers and stuff like that.
What Les Brown say? He said if you get knocked down, land on your back. Because if you can look up, you can get up. You know, and I think that's real. And yeah, I think Lennox, you got something?
Yeah, so when I just think about Cam and Brandon's story, it makes me think of one word. And when I did some research today, just thinking about generational trauma, the one word came up. It's called it's resilient. And I'm pretty sure we all know what resilient is, being able to bounce back, you know, in a positive or an effective way to, you know. Yeah, resilient. Yeah, I like that. Really, I like that. Yeah, but just being able to bounce back in a good way from anything that comes your way, and that's dealing with adversity. Adversity is a big one. I feel like adversity can be put into trauma as well, or generational trauma, because everybody goes through adversity. No matter if you come from 2-parent household, single parent household, everybody's going to eventually have to hit some type of adversity, and you're gonna have to be able to be resilient to come back from whatever it is that you're going through or whatever it is that happened. So. Yeah, like B said, if you got air in your lungs, if you got air in your lungs, you keep going. If you can fall on your back because you can see up. I like that. Who you said, Les Brown?
Les Brown, man. Les Brown, he be dropping the nuggets. Like when he talk, every time he speak, he got a banger. You know that's something that's profound. But you know what you mentioned as far as, because I want to kind of shift a little bit. When we think about resiliency, right? Still staying there. Resiliency, I think all of us have some type of endeavor that we're working on right now, right? And I think that we realize that it's certain patterns that we probably went through, you know, certain trials and tribulations we went through in our family, that we can either see that same type of pattern of failure, success, or and move that into business. So when you think about what you guys have went through today, and one of the things I like to always do is when we put goals out there, the things we want to accomplish, is that you mentioned about a ceiling. about how about a lot of times we remove the ceiling, right? Because I don't know about you guys, but a lot of times, and some people that I probably associated myself with my community, they always like, that's probably the max you can get to, right? Or if I go work for someone, well, I'm only gonna be able to make at max probably 60K a year, right? Like you talking about coming to me talking to you gonna make 100K or you're gonna actually start your own business. Like that's not like, come on now. Like sometimes it might be looked at you like that's not heard of, because my parents, this is when somebody might say my parents, they went to a job and they did this and they did that. They traded their time for the money. And I want to kind of hear you guys' perspective when you think about, because I think about in our generation, the things that we see now, we see people making money off social media. We see people doing some things that the previous generation probably never thought themselves to do. And I think the reason why is because we've removed the ceiling. And instead we created a floor, right? We created a standard where at the end of the day, we know that we're going to be these type of men and it cannot go below the standard, right? Now, that as far as where we're going, we can have an abundance of things. And I want to hear you guys, perspective on that from a business standpoint, or, kind of related to some endeavors that you guys are working on right now.
Yeah. I like how you said that. I like how you said that. We removed the ceiling and put a new floor. So, like with that being said, you basically saying either you can put up or shut up. You could either get with the program that society's moving, because the world moving fast. And it's up to you as a person if you're gonna keep up or you just gonna be trailing behind, or you just gonna be every week, kind of paycheck to paycheck, whatever. Like I like how you said that though. So that's really like making me think of like just different ways to uplift me and myself and like my business endeavors. So for me, like I just started my drink business, Chef Merce Delta Potions. And I'm starting slow, so is at the bottom kind of right now. But I've been every night I think of ways to like elevate my business, get more customers, get more people out there. And for me, it's just me putting myself out there, like getting out of my shell, being kind of shy or just don't want to talk to someone or promote myself. So I know that's what I got to do. So that's basically me creating a new floor for myself, breaking out of my shell and getting there. Okay, appreciate the comment. Yeah.
It's on you. You got something to say, Cam?
Yeah, just to touch on that. And by the way, Brandon, that was definitely a great answer. Definitely, as we continue to grow through life and just reflecting on some of the things I've done and things I'm currently doing, I feel like the best instance I can give you guys is even me writing and publishing my book. Right, one of the biggest things that was kind of full circle for me after I published it. Me and my family was talking. Me and my mother and my grandmother on my mother's side. I won't forget it. Well, we were talking, and just hearing how proud of me they were. And I asked them, I said, when was the last time somebody in our family has published a book? And they said, I don't know. We can't remember. And when they said that, I said, man, at 20 years old, I literally took a concept. When I started writing, I started praying in the morning, because every morning when I wake up, I pray and I write in my journal. That's something I never skip out on. I don't care if I'm in North Carolina or if I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. I don't skip out on it because it's a part of me. But I took a concept from that daily morning routine that I had, and I put it into something that I have no lack of confidence in to affect millions across the planet. And just to hear how proud of me my family was, and just hearing that I'm doing something that others in my family haven't done. I'm not sure if it was ever or a long time. It's just a reminder that, like you said, Quez, you don't have to put limits on yourself, but most of the limits we do have are self-imposed. So it's just all about removing the top of your expectations, right? And that's the thing about expectations. A lot of people's self-expectations are really low, so definitely in terms of my endeavors, I always keep myself in the mindset of anything I want to do, anything I can do with planning, persistence, and executing, I can do it. There's nothing I believe I can't do if I don't sit down, come up with a plan, keep working day by day. I don't believe there's anything I can't do.
Right. Okay. And just to take it back to this topic. When you talk about our generation like having no ceiling, I feel like everybody has been through this situation right here. They've allowed somebody to put their expectations of them on them.
Right.
And that I'm pretty sure I went through it before. So I went through a certain situation, maybe asking somebody, should I do this? Should I do that? And they like, man, you can't do that. But it's really them knowing they can't do it, but that's not saying that I can't do it. And then you'll eventually start feeling like, dang, like, can I really do it? You'll start questioning yourself. But then again, that can be since you're talking about generational trauma, that can be from generations on down. Like, man, ain't nobody ever did that. You can't do that. But in reality, like, that's just how I move now. Like, like Cam said, if I say I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it. I'm a plan. I'm a think about it. I'm a plan and I'm gonna execute. That's the biggest part. A lot of people just don't execute. So if you execute, like, you can learn along the way. Like I learned, that's what I'm doing now. I'm learning along the way now. If I want to do something, I'm gonna start. I'm gonna start that day. I might start 2 hours later, but I'm gonna start like soon, like ASAP. And I'm gonna plan to get it done. It's gonna get done because nobody's allowed to put their expectation of me on me.
You know what I'm hearing? I'm hearing that, like we said, it's two sides to everything, right? And we had a in the chat, as far as really being able to have faith, right? But then I think the other side of faith is what? Fear, right? And so, one of the things that I'm hearing from what you guys are saying is that, especially when we think about our generation as a whole, well, we believe in something. You know what I mean? I think that's where it starts, right? And I want to kind of, Cam mentioned something very profound, and Lindsay, you also mentioned some of the practices that you use as well. But like Cam mentioned about how he are able to, do his, practice his faith on a daily basis. But like, what inspires that for you guys to be able to just say, look, I'm gonna seek out something to really be able to make sure I can believe in something, I can thrive for something on a daily basis to overcome the fear aspect of lack and limitation, and being able to say, look, it's abundance in this world, and I can be able to go out here and make a change and do things like, come on now, publishing a book, being able to, start a business. When you come to like Brandon, you was able to find out a problem that most people are going through, right? Everybody's getting sick, and you was able to put out a potion that people need, right? And then also, Lennox, when you think about the skill that you have to be able to, hey, look, we know that everybody is, moving towards technology, and now you're able to, craft, perfect a skill that people need to protect themselves within a technology. Let's be real, man. These are some amazing things that you guys are doing at a young age, right? So, like, what inspires y'all to have such strong faith?
Wow, that's
Hey, Quiz.
I'm taking notes. I don't know about y'all. I'm taking notes. I'm trying to find out what is it, man. I gotta figure it out.
So for me, I would say, one, get you somebody that you can look up to and listen to, that can lead you, that can just give you like stuff like conversation like we're doing now. You need to be able to have somebody to be able to talk to at any given moment, be able to call like a mentor or just like a best friend or just somebody that you can talk to and have like real conversations with that actually means something. That's what we need to do more as since, like how you said, the ceiling is gone. It's kind of like, well, the ceiling gone, where we at now? We need to be able to sit down and have a conversation that, solve problems that we need, that we have. But I would like to answer that question with a quote from my mentor that I think he said it the last time we was on the call. Every morning, everybody gotta wake up to go to work. You can go to work and do something that you hate doing, or you can stop that and do something that you love, and rather do something that you love. If I quoted him right. But essentially he was saying, man, you go to work every day doing something that you hate. Imagine if you love doing what you do and you did it every day. You would just do it at a completely different level. So it's just like, just being able to have somebody that can like give you like little insight like that to keep you going and let you know, like, yeah, it's hard now, but I mean, if you change your perspective on it or change where you at on it, there's no ceiling. Again, there's no ceiling. So that's just my answer to that.
Oh, real quick, I'm thinking we about to sponsor. I don't know if y'all heard that mixtape. That used to be my favorite mixtape when I was younger. No ceilings.
Yeah, right.
Sometimes we started about the mixtape. I just had to throw that out there real quick.
But man, for one, Brandon, I want everybody who's watching, who's listening. I don't know if you're driving or sitting down at a laptop or phone, but give a clap for Brandon, because one thing I respect as an entrepreneur is because, and Quest can attest to this too. A lot of people talk about starting a business, but never do it. A lot of people talk about entrepreneurship. How do I improve my way of living? How do I put myself in another level? It's easy to talk about something, but Brandon is executing on it, and I'm so proud of you, man. Like that's definitely amazing.
Sure.
But
Appreciate it, brother.
To touch on this and to test on it, what keeps me going? I definitely say two things. If I were to dumb it down and really specify what I'm saying, excuse me, I'd say definitely one, opportunity, and two, one, to be different. Now, what I mean by opportunity is, to Brandon's point, you wake up every day. Lord willing, you wake up every day, right? You have an opportunity to do something special, whether you know it or not. Every time you wake up, you should look at it like, man, this day I have right now is an opportunity for me to do something, affect others' lives, change my life. This is an opportunity for me to do something special. Take advantage of it. A lot of people wake up saying, oh, well, I don't feel like getting out of bed. I don't feel like going to class. I don't feel like going to study. I don't feel like going to work. But guess what? There's somebody that's watching that sees the life you have and like, man, I wish I had that type of lifestyle. I wish I had that. So looking at the opportunity you have, take advantage of it. Two, like I said, in terms of being different, I want to be the person, like I said, a lot of people growing up in my family, like, man, this is going to be the first Black millionaire in our family. And hearing that as a kid, I didn't believe it. Now I fully believe it, right? And at this point, like I said, when it comes to being different, it's like, hey, when you have like I said, it ties into opportunity. When you have an opportunity to do something different, do something extraordinary, you have something to do, something extraordinary, man. Like, take the opportunity to do that, right? Because not only are you going to put yourself in the position to build yourself, build your family, like, you're going to change other lives in the process. So take advantage of the opportunity, one, and two, always strive to be different. That's what keeps me going.
Hey, man.
I like that. And so for me, I would say just past experience just allowed me to keep going. I feel like maybe a couple of times in the past I may have quit or maybe gave up a little too early, but you learn from things like that. And so now, like, it's no quitting at all. Like, I'm going, like we talked about, I'm gonna plan it and I'm gonna execute, and it's either gonna work or it's gonna work. There's no other way. And it's a quote I got. I think it's by Nipsey. I'm not sure if I'm a quote right, but it's, you closer to where you're trying to go than where you started. So why give up? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm gonna keep going until I get to where I'm trying to go. And another part, I would say just family. I got little brothers and sisters, but of course I got a mom and a dad as well. But I want to make them proud. I want to show my brothers and sisters like it's really possible to not live like we don't have to live a normal life. We can live a life that many people don't live. Like, it's actually possible, because I've been in environments where I've seen that it's possible. So it's allowed me to open my eyes, allow me to try to inspire other people and elevate other people to get to where I know is possible. So that's my goal. And as far as just personal development, just developing every day, developing to be my best self, to allow me to, like I said, inspire and elevate other people as well. So that's what keeps me going.
Absolutely.
What about you, Chris? Yeah, we got to talk about you, man.
You mentioned about your family, right? And so about 2022, right? At the end of 2022, and it was like I came full circle when I realized that both my great grandparents living, right? And so I realized, man, that was a blessing. I have both of my great grandparents living. I'm 22 at a time, and so I'm like, okay, that's a blessing. And out of nowhere, that, and I realized that, I'll be honest, I realized that once one of them was sick, and then next both were sick. And then within a 2-week span, They both passed away, right? But at that time, you know, one majority of family is in Georgia, the other one majority of family is in Florida. At that time, it brought our family closer, right? So when I had an opportunity to be around my family, I realized the importance of family, but also the importance of family values, right? What we really stood for and the things that we did together. You know, being able to put on a, how sometimes you put on the same T-shirt or you know, to have those cookout family reunion vibes. And I just thought back to when I used to have those conversations with my great grandparents. They used to really just talk about how they loved everyone and how they just really brought everyone together. And what that made me realize is that there was still space for improvement regarding, let's say, for instance, when it came to being able to make sure that they were healthy. Well, I don't want to see, when I think about my grandparents and I think about my parents, I don't want to see them in a nursing home, right? These are things I don't want to see. I don't want to see them, you know, older and they going through these different medical needs and they don't have the funds to be able to, be able to go through that and prosper through that. And so I started to realize like family is important, but also leadership and being able to be that person to say, look, I'm making a change for my family. And me being in the financial industry, I realized the importance of being able to make sure that somebody has to make a stand and say, look, I'm going to put this in place for my family, right? And so when you say being resilient and you say, how am I going to be able to, shift the aspect of generational trauma? Well, for one, we got, like we said, we talked about the 3 R's today, right? We talked about recognizing what's going on. We talked about being able to be resilient through it. And then the last one, I really want to hear you guys is how to restore it, right? Because when you think about the aspect of what we're talking about, no, there's not a lot of things in place. And I want to hear you guys' perspective on, I know you kind of mentioned some things already, how to restore it, but how would you guys go about restoring this aspect? Because me personally, I think it's now time for us to, as men, to take a stand for our own families, right? To be a king for our family, to be able to put in place the things that are needed, not just for ourselves, but for the generations to come. So, I want to hear from you guys, like, how will you go about restoring this aspect of trauma, that's been passed down?
I would say to start, like, essentially, restoring it. So I think we need to get the generation that's younger than us. We need to get them thinking. Like, I feel like a lot of our younger brothers, well, I'll say for me, my younger brother and sister, they don't think a lot. They don't read a lot like how we used to. They probably don't know how to write in cursive. It's just a lot of like little stuff that add up and make a big difference. So I think we should be able to, we need to restore getting the generation that's younger than us, like the teenagers now, the young kids now in middle school now, getting them focused and on a path that's leading towards education, because everything is so fast now. So sitting in school for 4 years, 6 years, 8 years is not on like kids younger than us minds. Like, I feel like we probably like the last generation to say, okay, let's go get this bachelor's degree, let's go get this certification, because now time's changing, everything's so fast. So I would say, like, just going back to our roots and recognizing where your people came from. Like, I know a lot of us, we're probably all first generation college students. Why is that? You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like, yeah, that's just like the restore aspect for me and my family. But I like how you said that, Quez. That's what keeps you going. Seeing your family down. It just makes us want to work even harder. So
Right.
That's where I'm at as well.
Yeah. So Brandon gave a really good answer, but to give a more personal, in terms of myself, what I've done to restore, things I've gone through in my life in terms of generational trauma, one of the biggest things I had to do, I had to forgive my father. And that's something that a lot of people my age, older, and some younger, a lot of people I've talked to personally struggle with that in terms of forgiveness, right? One of the things we talk about when it comes to generational trauma is, it's something that has trickled down to you, but it's not something necessarily you did. So you go through something like that, a lot of people don't talk about the resentment aspect of it, right? When somebody does something to you and you didn't do it, of course you feel anger, you feel resentment, you feel pain. Those are symptoms and those are feelings I don't blame anyone for feeling. But one of the biggest things in terms, like I said, I had to heal. I had to heal. In order for me to personally heal, I had to forgive my father. So I believe that definitely in my personal life, forgiveness has been a big tool. And for me, restoring my life, restoring my connections, restoring my personal gratitude and self-awareness, I feel like forgiveness is something I had to do, because I could have easily said, hey, well, I don't like this man. I despise him for the rest of my life. I could have easily did that. But, is that the best approach? It's not necessarily the best approach. I don't recommend it because you harbor that in your heart. So one of the things I had to do, like I said, to heal myself and heal that wound, I had to learn to forgive them. No matter how hard it is to forgive people, understand it's not just forgiving them and not just letting them off the hook. And forgiving them is for you too. Releasing that weight and that stress off your shoulders is very important.
Yeah, that's big.
That's a good point. And so for me, I would just say mainly accepting what already happened in the past. So being knowledgeable that it already happened, accepting it and moving on. But also, like Brandon said, reaching out to the young generation so we can keep what we're building now, to keep it passing down. So we change the direction of the wrong generation of wealth and put it towards the new generation of wealth, and just allow our thinking, our creative skills, our leadership, whatever skills we intake as we're getting older, as we're just maturing as adults, we need to be able to pass it down so it has a trickle down effect onto generations further down the line.
Yeah, man. We talked about some great things. Brandon mentioned about mentorship. Cam, you said, hey man, we gotta forgive. I like this, forgiving people for what they don't know, right? And I think that's a great start. And being able to accept it. Lennox said, how can we make sure we look? It's there, right? So let's go ahead and accept it. And that's some great points. And I want to I don't know if you guys kind of like want to kind of get some last words. I think we got I think we should leave them with some tips, right? Some great tips. And I don't know, you guys want to kind of leave some last words as we close out today.
I do. I want to say, even though I'm in Tallahassee right now, big shout out to Clayton County Public Schools. Jonesboro High School doing their thing. Just got nominated for Usher's video for the Super Bowl. So big kudos to them. Even though we are Mustangs from our
right.
Clayton County doing their thing.
Yeah, definitely good. Shout out to them. What you guys got?
But yeah, man, that's a great question. For myself, one thing I would definitely give to the audience and anybody who's watching, one thing I always recommend: self-care. I'm gonna go into why. For myself, self-care isn't necessary. It's necessarily not the concrete definition a lot of people give self-care. Not necessarily, going to get your nails done, your feet done. For me, for me, it's like self-care is the opportunity for me to hear my thoughts. It's the opportunity for me to listen to God. It's the opportunity for me to have quiet and stillness. And for myself and for my life and my lifestyle, I speak, I lead teams. I do all sorts of things that involve communication and talking a lot all day, sometimes all day. And for me, that self-care time is like unplug. This is my time to fully nurture myself and listen to myself. It gives me time to strategize. It gives me time to plan. In terms of overcoming, like I said, personal trauma and generational trauma, it gives you the time to heal. It gives you that time to reflect and say, hey, well, this happened. What are the best ways I can go about what's going on now? Like, what's the best way I can personally mend myself at this point? And giving that quiet time for yourself, it definitely helps.
Yeah, that's big.
as Miss Shenita put in the chat, she mentioned one thing that she gave 5 examples, but she mentioned one thing that I want to get back to you guys, which is accepting. Accepting is, I would say, the biggest form, just to, just accept it and just know you already went through it. And another one, I would say meditation or having peace. Cam said peace and stillness. I know sometimes I'm a nature boy, so I like to go outside. I like to be in nature. Nature is calm and peaceful, as well as like going to a lake and sitting at the lake and just listening, looking at the water, because it's peace, be still. Like it's nothing, just a clear mind, a positive thinking. I know that's easier. Well, it's it's not as easy as it may seem, but just practicing these things, as you know, it doesn't come overnight. It's a day by day practice, day by day process to get to where you're trying to go, and just knowing that if you're taking the right steps, you'll eventually get to where you're trying to go.
Absolutely. And just to recite some of the things that Dr. Shenita had mentioned, number one, learn how to identify, acknowledge, and accept the trauma, right? What Lennox said. And then number two, practicing mindfulness and peace still, right? And I think a great way to do that. It's crazy, Lennox. We didn't even mention Tuesday, right? We went and we saw it was Induga Speaks. It was there, and I want to share this real quick. When we was there at Induga Speaks, me and Lennox got an opportunity to be around a group of brothers that they literally take turns going up on stage, and they was able to share their thoughts, right? Share their experiences, the trials and tribulations that they go throughout the weeks and the months, and they was able to give a speech and just give it all out because it was a safe space. And I think that a lot of times, a lot of those environments are needed, right? And when you say, and just kind of shift back to, the step number two is practicing mindfulness and meditation. Man, you guys gave some great points on how to be able to do that. And I think I honestly believe it starts there. And then number three, learning to set boundaries, right? And I think a lot of times it might seem hard as I don't know about you guys, but it might seem hard as a young individual, how do I set boundaries? But I think when you know who you are, that's the boundary, right? Is nobody can cross that line because you know who Brandon is, who Lennox, who Cam is, but then also practicing self-care, right? And then communicating and finding support from others, right? That was, man, this was amazing. I don't know how y'all feeling, but this was amazing. And I just wanted to, personally just give a huge shout out to Dr. C for allowing us to have this opportunity and this platform to share with the world some of the things that we've been thinking about as young men in this generation.
Yes. With last shout out to Dr. C. I appreciate you. It's always a pleasure to come on the show. As we are going to be doing this every 4th Thursday of the month. So this will not be the last show. You guys will get to see as I said, our beautiful faces again. So we'll be back. And thank you again.
And Dr. C will be on every third Thursday.
Right.
Like with Shenita.
Yeah, I appreciate everybody watching too that came out. Everybody was involved in the comments. I hate we couldn't answer some of y'all questions. But yeah, just appreciate everybody. I know some of my family out there, so thank you, Aunt Margie, Aunt Dale, and if I don't know your name, but yeah, everybody that I invited to join. Appreciate everybody for supporting us, and it's little. We may not mention it, but the comments and everybody that joins, y'all give us they give me drive too to just keep thinking, keep my head on straight. So I appreciate this, and I can't wait to see y'all next month with a new topic. So
yeah, one more thing I like to add. This is my first time on the show, but just overall the conversation, the love, and the support. It's like I said, it's been a much needed conversation, and I want to thank you guys, man, for inviting me. Pretty much, this feels like a family for me, and it's just like an opportunity for me to talk about my story, not only just to talk about it, but be able to help someone else. That's a mindset and the framework for myself. I've had to adapt, man. That's something I use, and I see the message in the chat. So I'm like, so you guys, if you guys want to learn more about me, learn more about my story, I do have my book on Amazon.com. Pretty much everybody I know, including my grandmother, has an Amazon Prime account, so you can get it in 2 or 3 days. So it's pretty easy and accessible to get. So definitely, like I said, I do have it on Amazon.com. Also, my website. I know it pops up when I talk. So definitely feel free, like I said, to click on my website, learn more about my story, and definitely feel free to connect with me and ask me any questions you guys may have. I'm more than open to it.
All right. Great night, you all. Pleasure
Thank
speaking
you.
with you guys.
Have a good one.
Night, everybody.